What's up YouTube, Playmat here, bringing you today's YCS London side decking against Shaddoll video. I'm going to do loads of videos against all the popular decks at the moment and what to side against them. Obviously, if you're playing certain decks, you won't be able to have options for every side, but I'm going to go through every side card I'm seeing in the top cuts of YCS Dallas and the recent ARG in Columbus, I think it was. So I think it's important to side differently, whether you're playing against Shaddoll Chaos, Shaddoll Artifact, or Shaddoll Burning Abyss. So I'm going to cover the three separately. One thing to notice with Shaddoll Chaos is that they've got a lot more inherent summons and a lot less back row. So yeah, that's something to consider. So we have the kind of Stormforth, Caius, Vanity's Fiend. I've not actually seen much Stormforth, but Vanity's Fiend has been in a lot of side decks. I think more so than Majesty's Fiend, actually. I definitely think that this is a good card to have face up on the field, because you can't chain Vanity's Emptiness to things like Chaos Sorcerer. But if this is on the field, there's just so much in Shaddoll Chaos that they just cannot do. So yeah, Vanity's Fiend is great. Caius is obviously good, apart from against Super Poly. But it's still, there's loads of dark things, and there's loads of dark things in the deck that you'd rather have banished than go to the grave. The next cards are the obvious ones like Soul Drain, Defissure, Macro. Very few decks can actually side these. I mean, Satella Knights can, I wouldn't side Dimensional Fissure in Satella or Macro, but definitely Soul Drain. But if you are playing any of those decks, I don't know, Evil Swarm, Dino Rabbit, other decks that can side the Macro Defissure, they're obviously very good against the Chaos variants. The next card I have is Imperial Iron Wall. A lot of their special summoning, they have 8 cards in deck that can only be summoned by banishing from the graveyard. All of which are, relatively powerful monsters. You've got the Baby Dragons, which they use for all their synchro plays, and they do, Crimson Blader locks and things like that, and go into Thought Ruler Archfiend as a result of banishing. And that's how they get through their Baby Chaos Dragon engine as well. As much as they can kind of just pop it with Lila, I think that's the same with every Floodgate card, is that, you can't just say a Floodgate card is bad because Lila's going to pop it, or because MST is going to hit it. Because if they have those cards, they're going to have them. But if they don't, then they don't. The next one is quite an obvious one, Shadow Imprisoning Mirror. I think everyone is going for Shadow Imprisoning Mirror if you're not playing a dark deck against anything Shaddoll, anything Burning Abyss. It's not necessarily that good. Like I say, like Lila, MST can hit it. It's still obviously a really good card. It stops things. You can't flip in the damage step, but it does stop the flip effects in the damage step, which things like Soul Drain just doesn't do. And the thing is with the Chaos build is that there's so many cards that are it's not even their effect. It's just an inherent summon to summon the Chaos monsters. So they can already do so much. Anyway, with the deck, you're literally only stopping the Shaddoll monsters themselves. So yeah, I'm not necessarily convinced that Shadow Imprisoning Mirror actually stops the Chaos Shaddoll deck at all. And I personally wouldn't side it. I think there are better things. I move on to Puppet Plant. Puppet Plant's a really good card. I mean, if they make Crimson Blader, a lot of the time you can just take their Crimson Blader, attack their monster with it, or attack them directly with it, and then tribute set or tribute summon over it. So if you're playing Shaddoll, you tribute set your beast over the top of it, which you're allowed to do. So obviously if you're Crimson locked, then you can still set. If you're not actually Crimson locked, because you wait a turn to take the monster, then you can attack with it and, I don't know, tribute a Riser over it if you're, or a Vanity's Fiend if you're playing the Burning Abyss. And a lot of the time they'll just, Shaddoll can get quite low on life points if they're playing Solemn Warning, if they're playing Burst Rebirth. And then yeah, just stealing their monster with Puppet Plant. Sometimes you can just attack them with it and your own monster, and it can be game. There's easily like 3,000, 4,000 damage there in any Shaddoll monster you steal, pretty much. The next card is Soul Release. Against this deck, it just takes all their lights out of the graveyard. It stops them from being able to do their any of their Chaos summoning. It takes away things like Beast and Falco and any options for a Falco that wants to be flipped. I personally don't think Soul Release is that good, but I have seen a lot of people side it. So maybe it's better than I think. I don't know. I just personally don't feel that affected. Does the other one not open? Is that one not open there? The next card I want to talk about is Forbidden Chalice. I think Forbidden Chalice is absolutely amazing against Shaddoll. I do like it against the Chaos version, but it is definitely better against the Artifact version actually. But yeah, so Chalice, the more Shaddolls they've got in deck, the better Chalice is. I think so much of the time that Shaddoll players just think that they're going to resolve their flip effects because of how little their flip effects are negated. So they can play around a lot of things like, oh, this card, I reckon this will get negated in the grave. But it's a lot harder to play around when you aren't going to get your flip effects off. I can't stress how much in testing this card has been really good against me playing Shaddoll. So if you're playing Shaddolls, then Mind Control is definitely one of the best cards for the mirror match because you can steal their face down guy. If they haven't got Shadow Games, then you flip it, you resolve its effect, you synchro with it, you overlay with it, whatever. So sometimes it's like a +1, +2. Definitely Defusion. Defusion's so good, both in the mirror match when they super poly with both of your monsters. You know, in the mirror match, Defusion's just really important. It's like having another compulsory evacuation device. You can just make your guy, make them use their Shaddoll Fusion. The Shaddoll Fusion's out of their hand. You defusion their monster. You've still got a fusion on field that can keep doing damage the following turns. I like this card ever since the very beginning of Shaddolls coming out. We next have Space-Time Trap Hole and Chaos Trap Hole. These cards are definitely side deck cards that go in against Shaddoll Chaos. And if you're playing any form of trap tricks, then obviously they're searchable. So I thought they'd be worth a mention, definitely. There are other cards to side against the Shaddoll Chaos deck, but these are the cards I'm seeing in top cuts of regionals, top cuts of YCSs, of ARG events. Feel free in the comments below to comment whatever side cards that you like against specific decks. Against Shaddoll Chaos, you want to take out your MSTs because you're only going to hit chainable back rows with them really. So, but do keep in or side in trap stuns because you can actually manipulate their own Vanity's Emptiness against them, and you can chain trap stun to all of their chainable traps. So yeah, I definitely think MST is bad, trap stun is good against Shaddoll Chaos. You may even want to take out a copy of Vanity's Emptiness against the Shaddoll Chaos deck just because so much of their summoning is inherent. If you preemptively activate Vanities against Chaos, 9 times out of 10 you're just going to minus off having activated it early and not chaining it to anything, because they do only have Shaddoll Fusion really in the whole deck and Falco that isn't chainable, and then go for their special summon anyway. So yeah, I think Vanities is not good against Shaddoll Chaos. As much as a lot of these side deck cards that you will be bringing in. Okay, so we're going to move on to Shaddoll Artifact. Obviously, Caius and Vanity's Fiend are really good against that deck as well. It special summons a lot. Soul Drain, Dimensional Fissure, Macro, Cosmos, Shadow Mirror. I think Shadow Mirror is the next thing to talk about. Shadow Mirror is not so good against this build, I don't think, because it has a lot of artifacts. They are just going to resolve all their stuff, and they're going to, they've got Triple Sanctum, they've got MSTs, they've got Double Cyclones, they've got Ignitions. They're going to be able to destroy your Floodgates. I don't think Floodgates are particularly the way forward against this deck, really, because it has a lot of spell and trap destruction. You're better off with things against this deck like Puppet Plant, Mind Control, Defusion, Light Imprisoning Mirror, maybe. Personally, I don't think it's ever affected me that badly, so I'm not that bothered. You could side in Royal Decree against them or Trap Stun because there is quite a bit of traps in the deck, but like I said, there's a lot of spell and trap destruction, so Trap Stun's probably better. Breakthrough Skill, if you're siding Breakthrough Skill, Breakthrough is really good against this build. Breakthrough Skill is definitely good against this build, just because obviously when Breakthrough's in the grave, you can banish it whenever they try and do the artifact stuff against you, so Breakthrough's really good for that. Forbidden Chalice, again, damage step stuff. They've got more Shaddolls. Generally speaking, this has got much more Shaddolls. They're definitely almost always playing 3 Beast. Some of them playing 3 Squamata, some of them playing 3 Dragon, depending on how many cards are in the deck. And then we have like Space-Time Trap Hole again, Chaos Trap Hole. So yeah, I think there are obviously other cards, but I've touched a little bit on Majesty's Fiend. I do think Vanity's Fiend is better. I just always seem to have an out to Majesty's by special summoning stuff. So yeah, so obviously again, take out MSTs because all you're going to do is hit their artifact stuff, and they're going to chain their back rows. But yeah, definitely Trap Stun's really good against this build. And finally, we have the Shaddoll Burning Abyss variant. I think there's less cards to side against this build. Vanity's Fiend is quite good, but then they've got so much in the deck, like Phoenix Wing Wind Blasts, to just remove all of those cards that you stick on the field as Floodgate monsters or Floodgate back row. So again, there's like the potential of Soul Drain, D-Fissure macro does really hurt this deck because of the Burning Abyss monsters. Really just don't do a thing without the graveyard. Then Shadow Imprisoned Mirror I feel is stronger against this build because it's playing way more darks. Defusion is a possible card against this deck, but I think it depends on the actual player. If you see them being really keen to use their Shaddoll fusions, then definitely side it in against them, but if not, then don't. Royal Decree, actually quite a good one against this because they don't play artifacts, they don't play light swans generally, so they have so much less outs to decree, and so many traps in the deck as well. Although Trap Stun is an option if you can't have the room for decree. Breakthrough skill, they've got so much in the deck to breakthrough skill, or chalice. I actually quite like Max C and Flying C against this deck. There's lots of chainable stuff, so much chainable stuff in that deck to chain Max C to, and to use Flying C against all of their Tour Guide and Burning Abyss plays. It just can leave them with like 3 Burning Abyss cards in hand, and they have to go through their Shaddolls, and they're like, okay, well, I've got 3 dead cards in hand. And finally, Mind Crush. Mind Crush can be chained to any of the guys trying to special summon from hand, and then they won't get their effect in grave as well, so Mind Crush is really good against them. And so is obviously Chain Disappearance can just banish, it can banish Hedgehogs, it can banish all the Burning Abyss monsters, and it can banish Falcos. So yeah, I think Chain Disappearance is actually really good as well. And Dante. You can hit Dante, all the Dantes in their deck with Chain Disappearance as well. Okay guys, so thanks for watching this video. I'll next be covering just the straight Burning Abyss deck. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope that you like hearing about my opinions on side deck cards. Again, do feel free to comment in the box below what side deck cards you think you find really good against the decks. Till next time, Playmatter signing out.